On Monday morning, Russia bombed cities across Ukraine during rush hour, killing civilians and destroying infrastructure in apparent revenge after President Vladimir Putin declared the explosion on the bridge to Crimea a terrorist attack. The rockets rained down on Kyiv, the most intense strikes on the capital since Russia abandoned its attempt to seize it in the first weeks of the war. Explosions were also reported in Lviv, Ternopil and Zhytomyr in the west of Ukraine, Dnipro and Kremenchuk in the center of Ukraine, Zaporizhzhia in the south and Kharkiv in the east. A witness in the Belgorod region of Russia near the border with Ukraine also heard an explosion from the border zone. In Kyiv, the terrorist attacks took place in the heart of the busy city center. The body of a man in jeans was lying on the street at a major intersection surrounded by burning cars. In the park, a soldier cut the clothes of a woman who was lying in the grass, trying to treat her wounds. Another woman was bleeding nearby. City police said at least 5 people were killed and 12 injured. A huge funnel gaped next to the playground in the central Kyiv park. The remains of an obvious rocket were smoking in the mud. Later in the morning, rocket volleys rained down on the capital again. Pedestrians hid in shelters at the entrances to the metro station and in garages. "They are trying to destroy us and wipe us off the face of the earth," President Vladimir Zelensky said on the Telegram messaging app. The air raid sirens do not subside throughout Ukraine. Rockets are hitting. Unfortunately, there are dead and wounded. Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba tweeted, "Putin's only tactic is terror against peaceful Ukrainian cities, but he will not break Ukraine." This is also his answer to all peacekeepers who want to talk to him about peace. Putin is a terrorist who talks with missiles. At one of the busiest interchanges in Kyiv, a huge funnel formed at the intersection. Cars were damaged, buildings were damaged, rescuers arrived at the scene. 2 cars and a van near the crater were completely smashed, blackened and eaten by shrapnel. In the building of the main Taras Shevchenko Kyiv University, windows were broken. Soldiers of the National Guard in full combat gear and with machine guns lined up outside the building of the Trade Union of Education Workers. The capital has been attacked by Russian terrorists. The rockets hit objects in the city center, in the Shevchenko district, and in the Solomensky district. The air raid sirens are turned off, which means that the threat persists, wrote Mayor Vitaly Klitschko. In social networks, the central streets of Kyiv are blocked by law enforcement officers, rescue services are working. He later said that important infrastructure had been damaged. The strikes came 2 days after an explosion damaged the only bridge across the Kerch Strait to the Crimean Peninsula, which Putin on Sunday called a terrorist act aimed at destroying critical civilian infrastructure. It was designed, implemented, and ordered by the Ukrainian Special Services, he said in a video on the Kremlin Telegram channel. Ukraine did not claim responsibility for the explosion on the bridge, but noted it. Senior Russian officials demanded a quick response from the Kremlin before a meeting of Putin's Security Council on Monday. Commentators on Russian television are increasingly calling for massive retaliation against Ukraine, with the military leadership being publicly criticized for the first time since Russian troops were driven back to the battlefield. The bridge, which Putin personally opened, is the main supply route for Russian troops in southern Ukraine and a symbol of Russia's control over Crimea, a peninsula it declared annexed after its troops seized it in 2014. Deputy Chairman of the Russian Security Council Dmitry Medvedev said on the eve of the council meeting that Russia must destroy the terrorists responsible for the terrorist attack. Russia can respond to this crime only by directly killing terrorists, as is customary all over the world. This is what Russian citizens expect, the state news agency TASS quoted him as saying. Alexander Bastrikin, the head of Russia's investigative committee, said on Sunday that a car traveling through Bulgaria, Georgia, Armenia, North Ossetia, and the Krasnodar territory of Russia exploded on the bridge. In the southeast of Ukraine, Russian shelling destroyed another apartment building in the city of Zaporizhzhia overnight, Regional Governor Alexander Starik said on Monday morning. As a result of the terrorist attack, at least 1 person was killed and 5 were injured, a city official said. The pre-dawn strikes were the 3rd Russian missile strike on apartment buildings in 4 days in the Ukrainian-held city, the capital of one of the 4 partially occupied regions that Russia is alleged to have annexed this month. Russia has suffered serious setbacks on the battlefield since early September, when Ukrainian troops broke through the front line and recaptured territories in the northeast and south. Putin reacted to the losses by ordering the mobilization of hundreds of thousands of reservists, declaring the annexation of the occupied territory and repeatedly threatening to use nuclear weapons.